But I'm going to mute everybody. Hi, Gloria, including you, Kendra. I think you get muted when I do that. So we want to say Shabbat Shalom. And I'm going to switch to this. Spotlight. There we go. So we can start our Shabbat service with being together. It's always so nice to get a minute to say hello, to greet each other, to check in. That's something that would certainly happen if we were in the sanctuary together. So we have to make it happen here. And then I will invite you, if you want to stay on afterwards, even to go into a group with a couple people any week you want to. I don't know about any week, but we can always do breakout rooms after services and have a kind of Oneg Shabbat. So let me know if you'd be interested in that, and we can see about arranging it. Oh, let's see. We have so much. Let's start with our welcoming song. And Kantra, do you want to kind of explain the music for tonight?
So there are quite a few things that you wouldn't normally hear on your average Friday night. A lot of your favorites are still in there, but tonight is actually Shabbat Shirah, the Shabbat of song. And it's the Shabbat where we read B'Shalach, which is the portion of the Torah where we find Micha Mocha. And it's also, strangely, usually falls in line with the Yortzeit for Debbie Friedman of blessed memory. And it's become very common to celebrate the Yortzeit of Debbie Friedman and her memory along with Shabbat Shirah. So I wanted to share some of my favorite Debbie Friedman songs with you, arrangements for prayer. And if you don't know who she is, she's just really a trailblazer in terms of making synagogue music accessible, adding guitar, and certainly bringing women into the forefront of this sort of folk movement of synagogue music. This is a Shalom Aleichem. It's actually the last thing that she composed before she passed away. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi מלכי המלכים, הקדוש, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
So this past week, yesterday was, well, actually, I'm going to wait. Let's light our Shabbat candles first on page 120. And as you light your candles, take a moment and think about those who you want to bring into this Shabbat service, maybe people who live out of town, maybe loved ones who have gone to the Olam Haba, who are no longer directly with us. But let's invite these people in, and if they are alive, let's send prayers for their well-being to them as you pick.
Oh, hear my prayer, I sing to you. Be gracious to the ones I love, and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh, hear my prayer to you.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. That is by Debbie Friedman. If you weren't aware of that, we've been singing it for so long, but it is her.
I think people will end up recognizing a fair amount of the music tonight and enjoy. So I started to say, yesterday was Tu B'Shvat. I actually love one of Debbie Friedman's Tu B'Shvat songs. It's more of a children's song, but trees are blowing in the wind. But a friend of mine, Rabbi Matt Banks, pointed out an article about glacier mice. So we already know that this Shabbat is Shabbat Shirah, so the Shabbat of song, and it often falls around Tu B'Shvat, the holiday that we connect with ecology, with taking care of our world, with growing things. I thought this was so interesting. Irregularly shaped balls of moss found on a remote icy slope that inexplicably move in concert as a herd, and they're called glacier mice. They are worlds in miniature, humming with life, dozens of species intertwined in oases of green warmth that traverse the least hospitable environment imaginable. Because glacial ecosystems are among the most fragile on Earth, researchers are working fervently and patiently to unravel their secrets, listening closely to their song before they fall silent forever. So I wanted to share that beautiful thought as we think of the microcosm within each world, within each one of us, within each climate, within each area, and even within these balls that just look like fluffy little mice floating through the tundra. There's a whole ecological system. And from everything, we have this ability to learn. And that's what our prayers remind us to do, to take a moment, to notice, to stop and say a bracha, a blessing for each and every moment, to elevate the most ordinary, the most minute, a dust ball, to something holy. And that's what Shabbat helps us to do. So on page 127, we offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat which unites us in faith and hope, for Shabbat holiness, which inspires sacred living, for Shabbat memories glowing even in darkness, for Shabbat peace born of friendship and love. We offer thanks and blessings, O God. And we welcome Shabbat with Lecha Dodi on page 130.
בואי לשלום, עטרת פלה, גם בשמחה ובסוף עולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי.
We turn to page 147. There is one who sings the song of his own life, finding everything within himself. There is one who leaves the circle of herself and sings the song of her people. There is one whose voice rings with the song of humanity, hoping for the highest perfection. And there is one who rises even higher, uniting with all creatures, with all worlds, filling the universe with song. Nivarech, let us bless. The Baruch Hu on page 146.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, Le'olam Va'ed.
Page 148 of Mariv Aravim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, v'chokhmah poteach she'arim, uvitvuna mishaneh itim, u'machalif et hazmanim, u'msader et hakochavim v'mishmeroteim barakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla goleh or mipnei choshek v'choshek mipnei or, Uma'avir yom umevi laila umavdil ben yom uven laila Adonai tzvaot shemo. El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. And on page 150, Ahavat Olam.
Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Hukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu, B'shokbeinu u'vekumeinu, Nasiach b'chukecha, ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה, ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Need a moment.
Page 154.
Sorry, everybody.
We are going to share a special Debbie Friedman melody that goes with the Via Hafta this evening.
One of the things that Debbie Friedman did was to take a lot of the liturgy and put it in our vernacular, because she loved being at temple. She was quite active and actually eventually fluent in Hebrew. Even though she was not clergy, she was very knowledgeable, but she really understood that there was a need for people to have a way to connect to the liturgy that did not understand Hebrew. And she went out of her way to make a lot of our liturgy more accessible for people. This is her Via Hafta. It's called And Thou Shalt Love. Thou shalt love Adonai thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. And all these words which I command you on this day shall be in thy heart, shall be in thy heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and thou shalt speak of them when thou walkest in thy house, when thou walkest by the way, and when thou risest up, and when thou liest down, and when thou liest down, and thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thy hand, and they shall be for frontlets between thine eyes. And thou shalt write them on the doorpost of thy house, and upon thy gates, and upon thy gates, that ye may remember and teach all of my commandments, and be holy unto
think that that melody could have been one of the reasons I'm a rabbi. That it was sung when I was in youth group and in the temple when we had youth group services. I didn't go to Jewish summer camp where that would have been sung until a little bit later, but it was so accessible and so reachable and so beautiful that it brought this whole new element to prayer. And the words have changed a little bit over time from when she wrote it in the late 60s, early 70s. It's more gender inclusive now. And she's changed that. She changed them along the way. So her music just had such a strong influence in the Jewish world. There's actually a beautiful video on her Havdalah melody, the la 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 la, that has reform, conservative, orthodox, renewal, like all the different forms of Judaism making Havdalah to that melody from all over the world. It's pretty amazing to have that kind of reach and influence. And it's always amazing when something in the Jewish world can cross the lines and divides that so often separate us. So it's just fantastic. We are on page 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before we ever stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. Took me a second to get us on the right screen share there. I apologize if I made anybody dizzy. We continue with our Hashkivenu on page 161. This. Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows for your truth, of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are gentle acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace. Just feel what that would feel like to be comforted, surrounded, sheltered by peace. Over all we love, over our Jerusalem, and yours. Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim. V'shamru.
Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asod et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We turn to page 164. And before we go to the Amidah prayer, we sing the introductory prayer. It helps us prepare for this pinnacle in our service, this highlight in our prayers. And this is another Debbie Friedman melody.
Oh God, as I stand before you, I ask for strength and courage as I take time to look at myself. May I open my lips in prayer. And God, as I stand alone, I pray my heart will sing out to you so many thoughts and fears that I have. May I open my lips in prayer. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Adonai Sabbatai Tivtach Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim v'Konei Hakol, v'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. מחלקל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומיתו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן עד הלחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. Ooh, muted. Rabbi, you're muted.
Thanks. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh u'kedoshim b'chol yom yehalelucha sela. Baruch ata Adonai ha'el hakadosh. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Please be seated. And we pray responsively. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mikadesh HaShabbat, page 175. We turn now to the Modim, our prayer of thanks. Modim anachnu lach. We thank you, God. So I want to encourage you to think of what you are thankful for. I was so moved last week with what people put in the chat. So I encourage you to do that again. It's inspirational for all of us. And maybe there's a moment in your life that Debbie Friedman influenced, and you'd like to share that as something you're thankful for, or a song that you particularly like. That would be a lovely tribute, as well as a way for us to share our thanksgiving with one another. When we behold your heavens, the work of your fingers, this is page 177. The moon and the stars that you set in place. What are we humans that you are mindful of us? We mortals that you take note of us. You made us a little less than divine, adorned us with glory and majesty. You gave us dominion over your handiwork, laying the world at our feet. How majestic is your name throughout the earth. Baruch atah Adonai hatoshimcha ulachan na'eh lehodot. And together we pray for peace.
Shalom Raha, HaYisrael Amacha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Raha, HaYisrael Amacha, Tasim Leolam. Ki Atah Melech Adon, L'chol HaShalom. Ki Atah Melech Adon, L'chol HaShalom. Shalom Rav, HaYisrael Amacha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav, HaYisrael Amacha, Tasim Leolam. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל, בכל עת ובכל שעה, בשלומך. שלום רב, ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב, ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
As we enter into our silent prayer, maybe go back and think of those glacial mice, those ecosystems round up and caught up in and of themselves, and how they are a world unto themselves, and how you too are a world unto yourself. And the world couldn't be without you at this very moment, and how we are so interconnected with one another, how we're interconnected with glacial mice, dust balls on the Arctic, how we're interconnected with one another.
Oh, say shalom, bimroma, huya ase shalom, aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'meru amen. Oh, say shalom bimroma, huya say shalom aleinu ve'akol Israel v'meru amen. Oh, say shalom bimroma, huya ase shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'meru amen. Oh, say shalom bimroma, huya ase shalom aleinu ve'al kol Israel v'meru amen. Oh, say shalom bimroma, huya ase shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'meru amen.
Another favorite. Think about a moment of transition. Well, actually, I don't want you to think about that moment. I want you to think about the effort that it takes. We don't go from being a child to an adult overnight, hopefully. There's those teenage years in between where good things happen, where bad things happen, where trials and tribulations come at us, where we grow step by step. And sometimes we move forward and sometimes we move back. Even the wedding ceremony, where you go from being single to being married, pretty much in a 20-minute ceremony, you don't necessarily become husband and wife or wife and wife in that moment. You become a unit over time, some of which started before the wedding ceremony, some of which doesn't happen till many, many years later. Change is not usually affected with sweeping reforms from on high, and everything overnight is new and different. At least not real change. We might have the appearance of change with a new law or a statement of solidarity, but change, real change happens with baby steps. Yesterday was the holiday of Tu B'Shvat. At our Tu B'Shvat Seder, we learned that the first world, according to the Kabbalists, is the world of Asiyah, a world of action. It's a very grounded world, real action in this world that we know. And this first round is the first step, the first level. Think about it. Have you ever been in a rut and feeling stuck? I think many of us are feeling that way these days, a little more than usual. One of the best ways to get unstuck is to actually do something. You don't feel like exercising, get up and move for a couple minutes. You don't feel like taking a walk, walk to the end of the driveway or the end of the block. You can always turn back, but you can also keep going. And sometimes all we need to do is take those first steps to get started. You need to write something and don't know what to say? Put a few words on the paper, and maybe that will help move you forward. Little actions. There's the inertia of being stuck, as Deborah wrote in the chat, but there's the inertia of moving forward. Now, some Tu B'Shvat Seders represent this a little bit different. That Asiyah, this world of action, is represented by certain kinds of foods. Foods with little tiny seeds. Think blueberries or strawberries, where you can see all the seeds on the outside, or pomegranate. Tiny seeds. Each seed has the potential to grow into a full-blown plant. But in the beginning, it's just a germ of possibility. Each seed we plant can lay the groundwork for sweeping change, albeit sometimes very far into the future. The Israelites' journey began 400 years before this week's Parsha. This week's Parsha is Bishalach. This week, we escape from slavery. But let's go back 400 years. We don't imagine that enslavement happened right away. We know that Joseph was welcomed, and then Joseph's family, Jacob and all his brothers and sons, they were welcomed into Egypt, and they had a pretty prosperous life. But somewhere in the 400 years between their coming into Egypt and there arose a king who knew not Joseph, things switched, and they went from being welcome guests to troublesome pests. So that was one change that we know happened. But now, in our Parsha this week, we're freed. We crossed the sea. We have this big sweeping change with physical relocation, with migration, with loss, with fear. Very dramatic, very powerful. But it wasn't enough. So tonight's question is, how did the Israelites move from a slave mindset to a free people mindset? If the transformation didn't happen at that moment as they crossed through, when did it happen? And I believe it was a series of small events that added up to a new people, a free people. Maybe it was the moment that Nachshon stepped into the sea, showing faith in God. But then we need to layer on top of that moment. Maybe it was the people complaining that they wanted to go back to Egypt, that the food wasn't so good out in the desert, that they missed the slavery they knew. They didn't know what to do with this new freedom. They weren't really free yet. They were struggling. Maybe it was the people receiving the manna, having just the right amount to sustain them. Maybe we need to layer on the stopping and the starting, the camping and the traveling over 40 years that shaped them step by step. It was learning slowly to have faith in God. Even after the great miracle that you would think would be transformative, it was these baby steps along the way that added up to a new nation. Change doesn't happen overnight. We have to plant seeds and take baby steps. The Kabbalists start, as I said, in the world of asiyah, of doing or formation. But then they take us to greater worlds, higher levels, Yitzirah, Breira, worlds of different levels of creation. But the goal is to get to the outer world, the world of Atzilut, the world of pure spirituality, a world in which actual potential is reached. A transformation occurs, something new is created. But if we hadn't stopped at each place along the way, at Asiyah, at Yitzirah, at Buria, we'd never make it to Atzilut. We need to stop at each place, take these baby steps before we can reach the goal. But what interests me is that in the Tu B'Shvat Seder, we pause at each step, even the incomplete ones, and celebrate. There's a different color wine for each step. There's a different kind of fruit to eat. Even though we haven't achieved the goal, we stop and take notice of where we are in that moment. We celebrate the moments of the journey. Likewise, in this week's Parsha, the people celebrated. The men sang a battle song, and the women took up their timbrels and they danced. And I love my timbrel. It was designed by Betsy Platkin-Teutsch, and she demonstrates the women dancing on this timbrel. Isn't it amazing? They were leaving Egypt. They needed to take food and sustenance and some gold and whatever they were going to need to build the tabernacle later, but they knew they needed to celebrate. They knew they needed to take their drums or their tambourines or whatever the toph was, the timbrel was. They knew that they were going to need to celebrate the moment they crossed the sea. It wasn't the end of the journey, but it was a point along the way. Just like we celebrate a bar bat mitzvah, we celebrate a wedding. It's not the end. It's not the culmination. It's a point along the way that's worth stopping and remembering. The first step to freedom for the Israelites was celebrating the little victories along the way. On Passover, we sing Dayenu. Dayenu means it would have been enough. Had you taken us out of Egypt, Dayenu. Had you given us the Torah, Dayenu. Had you given us Shabbat, Dayenu. But if you think about it, none of those things were really enough. If God had stopped by just taking us out of Egypt and never given us the Torah or given us Shabbat, we wouldn't be the Jewish people. It really wasn't enough. But we stop and say thank you and celebrate that moment and feel fulfilled at each step along the journey. So have faith that eventually all these seeds, all these steps will lead to something bigger. They'll lead to a freedom well earned and worth having. We are the inheritors of this freedom. We are also the recipients of their struggles, and not their completed struggles, the struggles we have to go through over and over again. We still have to take steps toward freedom each and every day, but it's a freedom worth having. It's worth it to fight for social justice, to fight for democracy, to fight for religious freedom, to fight to protect those who need protecting, to fight to strengthen our weary souls. I urge you to celebrate every victory along the way, even the most insignificant ones, to dance and sing and celebrate, and know that you are headed in the right direction, that together we can move forward and enter a land of freedom. Can you hear Ratzon? Each week we sing of this freedom in the Aleinu, litaken et ha'olam, to repair the world, to make it a better place. So let us join together and rise on page 586 for Aleinu l'shabeach.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gdula liotzer bereshit, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
We turn now to page 598 for the Mourner's Kaddish. We are in the week of mourning for Joy Gould Boyum, aunt of Amy Dinnerman, for Sally Rabin, wife of Joel Rabin, mother of Stacy Miller, and we send our condolences to the whole family. Betty Wiesenberg, aunt of John and Rachel Wiesenberg. Alan Davis, brother of Len Davis. And we are in the month of mourning, the period of Shloshim, for Chaya Bogoslavskaya, step-grandmother of Sherry Arias, for Lottie Bly, mother of Nisi Birkenfeld, for Julia Leibowitz, cousin of Jane Weiss, for Stacy Delia, cousin of Cindy and Steve Schlansky, for Bill Silver, father of Jay Silver, for Ari Elberg, brother of Adam Elberg, and for Bobby Green, cousin of Eric Dinnerman. And we remember those whose yurtzites fall at this season: Alan Abrams, Deborah Rachel Alpert, Betty Axelrad, Sheldon Bark, Bertha Fine, Louis Fishbein, Debbie Friedman, Melvin Fogel, Harry Gerbs, Bernice Golden, Lee Elliott Gould, Douglas S. Horn, Amy Kirstein, Daniel Kraus, Norman Lieberman, Stanley J. Mallon, Norton Miller, Nathan R. Newman, Rose Reich, Helen Rochester, Jill Scott, Ann Skolnick, Helen Stetcher, Jacob Weinstein, and Jack Zipkin. Is there anyone else you're saying Kaddish for today? I see a few more names: Rose Plass, Marvin Nadler, and Tricia Choriana Bennett. May all of their memories be a blessing. May all the good that they did continue to inspire us as we join together. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yamad yivrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, v'galav v'zman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yesh me Rabba mivorak le'olam omeo maya, yiparak v'yishtabak v'yipar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei kudashab b'rachu, le'la min kol v'irchata v'shirata tishvachata v'nechamata damiran v'yama v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlomo Rabba min Shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say, Amen. We go from the holiness of memory to the holiness of the Shabbat day with the Kiddush on page 123.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hihilanu zikaron l'maseh bereshit ki hu yom tehila l'mikra'ei kodesh zecher litziat מצרים, כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדיש השבת. Amen. L'chaim.
L'chaim. Please be seated. As we now turn our thoughts to those who are in need of healing, and I invite you to add their names to our chat. And as we also include Robin Fye, Fred Franklin, Noah Feiner, Harrison Feiner, Harrison, I'm not sure of his last name, Mickey Plass, Brad Boxman, Mary Pell, Marvin Breutman, the Taylor family, the Malaby family, Bob Malaby, the Bernstein family, Fern and Lenny Bernstein, Christine Joseph, Ruth Mossberg, Olga Leisman, Marty Jacobson, Gladys and Seymour London, David and Linda Jablon, Shimon Label Ben Nachum, Betty Morell, Barbara Castell, Jay Kranitz, Barbara Dreyer, Michael Bernstein, Phyllis Belford, Jonathan Dillon Mossberg, Daniel Siegel. We have so many more people we're praying for, and I know you've added some beautiful names. So let us hold them in our hearts and our minds and vision healing for all those in need of healing.
Mi shebeirach avotenu mikol bracha leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi shebeirach imotenu mikol bracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Amen va'amen. A refuah shlema, a complete and speedy healing for all who are in need of healing. Looking at the list too. So we also get to celebrate today. I know we have some birthdays. I don't think we have any anniversaries. Actually, let me take my spotlight off and go to gallery view so we can see everyone. A happy birthday to Josh and Jamie Miller. They can wave from their place in the house. Yay. Need some cheer this week. Susan Bloomfield, happy birthday. I don't know if Seth Lieberman's here. I know Diane is, but wish him a happy birthday. Phil Schwam has a birthday coming up. Matthew Pell, heard you were going to be on just for your birthday, so we're sending special blessings your way. There you are. I had to switch my screen for a second. Hunter Wiesenberg, not on our call, but we want to wish him a very happy birthday. He turned 7 on Sunday. Gloria Schulman, I know I saw you before. Happy birthday. And is Beth Henkel here tonight? Sometimes she is. And said Phil. Anybody else on the call with a birthday or anniversary or some other good news we should be celebrating? So we need a Yom Holedet Sameach this evening. So we're all birthdays.
Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach, and many more.
Ad Mea ve'esrim, may you live to 120 in health and happiness and joy. Amen. All good things, all good things. I wanted to share with you that we are working on developing this idea of a village model, which is something that has been done successfully all over the country, and it's been done Jewishly in California in 2 different locations. And it's designed for people ages around 60 to 80, active older adults who maybe are entering a retirement phase or just a new phase in their life where trying to find some purpose and meaning, and we want to do it together. It could be in helping other people. It could be in exploring passions and interests together. If this is something that you would be interested in, if you could reach out to me or to Wendy or Jeff Natkinson, we're still in the planning stages, so I'm really asking if this is something you'd be interested in getting involved in planning. And let us know this week. We're working on putting together a steering committee as we work with Dix Hills Jewish Center to see if this is a viable and exciting idea for our community. So I wanted to remind you of that. And I think Vanessa's doing the announcements this evening.
Yes, I am.
Let me spotlight you so we can all see you.
And I'm reading off my phone tonight because I'm using a different laptop. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
So on Tuesday, February 2nd at 10 a.m. is Jewish Tangents. Friday, February 5th at 10:15 a.m. is Torah Yoga. Sunday, February 7th, we have confirmation class at 12 and budding friendships at 2. Tuesday, February 9th, the nursery school is celebrating National Pizza Day. Presented flyers. You can go to Mario's anytime between the hours of 11 a.m. and 9 p.m. Mention the David Joshua Berg Temple Beth Torah Nursery School, and the nursery school will get a percentage of the proceeds. Wednesday, February 10th is a special congregational vote. It'll be on Zoom. That's taking place at 6:30. You've all received an email. You need to register prior to attending, or you can assign somebody to be a proxy for you. So it was an individual email that went out. And if anybody didn't get it, please call Kathy in the office and let her know to make sure you do get that information. Saturday, February 13th, we have a virtual art auction. It's a fundraiser. There's free registration, although we do ask for a donation of $36 to go towards our fundraising fund. The first 36 devices that register get entered in a drawing to win $100 cash. Very exciting. Awesome. There you go. You'll be in the drawing. I don't know if we quite reached the 36 yet. You can, I think February 9th, which is a few days before the actual auction, all the artwork will be on display so people can see what there is. But Marlin Arts is owned by Temple family, and they have beautiful pieces, and it runs the gamut of what they have and different art genres and time periods. So definitely worth checking out. Even if you can be there or not, you can put in some bids for the auction. If you or someone else that you know that's not receiving emails, please let Robin know. What did I miss? Oh, here it is on the bottom. Purim is coming, so be on the lookout for all the emails and announcements for our annual Purim extravaganza. Am I allowed to announce what the theme is, Cantor? You can nod your head yes or no.
Yeah.
All right, Mamma Mia is the theme, so I'm very excited about it, what everybody is planning. And we are going through a coat and warm clothing drive. So we have a bin in the foyer when you first walk in the vestibule area. Just please put it in a bag and drop it off by, and I'm trying to read this, I don't know why it overlapped the wrong way. I think it's for another few weeks. Are you able to read that, Rabbi? I'm sorry, I don't know why some of the
on this list. So it's the next couple weeks, like up through the February vacation, up till that.
Okay, wonderful. So that's it. Again, everything is always on our website and the emails that we get. Got to be in it to be part of our community. So get involved and show up. Thanks. Have a good night.
Shabbos.
Good job. Okay. Cantor.
And I'm closing with a Debbie Friedman melody. It's actually one of my favorites, even though it's quite simple. And it's a Tefillat HaDerech, which is a blessing of being on your way. But it always said, to me, was the perfect text for sending people home at the end of services. Obviously, not many of us are going very far this evening, but some of you might be getting in a car and going somewhere sometime soon. So consider this an extended blessing for any travel you do in the near future. May we be blessed as we go on our way. May we be guided in peace. May we be blessed with health and joy. May this be our blessing. Amen.
Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, please bless us every step along the journey and let us remember to celebrate each moment. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
Shabbat
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.